Toledo, Ohio, 1955. There was a woman named Dorothy who worked the counter at the Five and Dime downtown. She had a pencil behind her ear that she never once wrote with. Didn't need to. She knew your order before your coat hit the stool. Fried egg on toast for the fella from the machine shop, and for the little boy who came in Saturdays with his mother. A grilled cheese cut on the slant because he liked it better that way. Dorothy worked that counter for 19 years. She called every soul who sat down "un." And when it finally closed, sometime in the 70s, they didn't even hold a supper for her. They just unbolted the stools from the floor one afternoon while the store was still open. Now, you might think this is a sad little story about poor folks eating cheap food because that's all they could get. Something to feel sorry about. Honey, you have got it backwards. Here's the picture most people carry around. The 1950s, plain food, simple times. Folks made do with a sardine on rye and a nickel cup of coffee because they didn't know any better, and thank goodness we've moved on to something finer. That's the story. It is dead wrong. Because in 1956, there were more than 100,000 lunch counters in this country. Drugstores, bus stations, department stores. Every one of them had a board of sandwiches on the wall and a woman like Dorothy standing behind it. By 1985, almost every single one was gone. And here's the part nobody tells you. Those sandwiches weren't survival food. They were genius. Thrifty, honest, made-by-hand genius. A bank president and a plumber sat on the same stool and ate off the same board. The food was better than what buried it. We didn't lose these because they weren't good enough. We lost them because we stopped sitting down. If your mother or your grandmother ever made you one of these, do me a small kindness. Subscribe. So the rest of them don't slip away the way Dorothy's stools did. Now let's count them down. Number 25, the date nut bread sandwich. This one greeted you at every ladies' lunchroom and tea room in America. 2 slices of dark, dense date nut bread, speckled with walnuts, spread thick with Philadelphia cream cheese. That was the whole thing. No meat, no lettuce. Just the sticky sweetness of the dates against the tang of the cheese. A slice of that bread ran about a nickel at the bakery counter. The cream cheese a few cents more. Women ordered it with coffee at the department store tea rooms, back when a woman shopping downtown expected somewhere gentle to sit. Then the tea rooms closed, and the bread went with them. Number 24. The sardine sandwich. Open a tin of little silver sardines. About 15 cents in 1955. Lay 3 or 4 across buttered rye. A thin slice of raw onion. A squeeze of lemon. Top slice on. That was a working man's lunch in every port city and factory town in the Northeast. The oil soaked into the rye till it glistened. Men ate them without one word of apology. More protein and calcium, ounce for ounce, than nearly anything in the case. Today, most folks won't touch a sardine. The fish didn't change. We did. Number 23, the ham salad sandwich. When the Easter ham was down to the bone went in the bean pot. But the scraps went somewhere better. Ground through a hand-crank grinder with sweet pickle relish, a spoon of yellow mustard, and just enough mayonnaise to hold it. Packed in a bowl in the icebox. Smoky, sweet, tangy, all at once, somewhere between a spread and a paste. A ham salad sandwich at a drugstore counter cost about 25 cents in 1954. Came with chips and a pickle. The counter girl made 6 dozen before the noon rush, and they were gone by 1 o'clock. Then pre-sliced deli ham got cheap, and nobody ground scraps anymore, and a whole tradition of thrift went with it. Number 22, the olive nut sandwich. Now this one sounds like a fever dream. Cream cheese, chopped green olives, chopped pecans, spread on white bread, crusts off, cut in neat little triangles, salty from the olives, earthy from the pecans, creamy from the cheese. It tasted like nothing you'd expect, and everything your grandmother served at Bridge Club. The whole spread cost about 30 cents to make and filled 24 little tea sandwiches. A woman could set it out on a cut glass plate and have her friends beg for the recipe. When the tea room counter died, this one died right beside it. No fast food chain was ever going to put that on a menu board. Number 21, the liver sandwich, Braunschweiger on pumpernickel, a thin smear of mustard, a slice of raw onion. This is what German, Polish, and Czech families carried in their lunch pails across the industrial Midwest, and it spread to every counter within a mile. The liverwurst was smooth and rich. Iron in edible form, my mother used to say. A quarter pound cost about 20 cents in the mid-50s. The pumpernickel was dark and a little sour. The mustard cut the richness. The onion woke the whole thing up. Detroit, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Butchers sliced it fresh off the log every morning. Then Americans decided they didn't eat organ meat anymore, and it just quietly left the conversation. Number 20, the fried egg sandwich, not breakfast, lunch. A fried egg cooked in butter till the edges laced brown and crispy. The yolk still soft enough to run. Laid on buttered toast with salt and pepper. A 15-cent lunch at any counter in America. The egg cracked when your teeth hit it. The yolk soaked into the toast. Butter from the griddle met butter from the bread. Richer than 3 ingredients had any right to be. A short order cook could make one in 90 seconds. For a working man with 20 minutes and a quarter in his pocket, it was the most honest meal in the building. Number 19, the pimento cheese sandwich. Below the Mason-Dixon line, pimento cheese was not a condiment. It was a religion. Sharp cheddar grated by hand, diced pimentos from a little jar, bound with Duke's mayonnaise, a pinch of cayenne, spread thick on soft white bread. 20 cents at most counters, Virginia clear to Texas. The cheese was sharp enough to make your mouth pay attention. The cayenne left a warmth at the back of your throat that sent you reaching for your iced tea. Counters bought it from local women who mixed it in their own kitchens and delivered it in mason jars every morning. A little cottage economy built around one sandwich filling. The chains could never copy it. The recipe changed every 50 miles. Number 18, the chipped beef sandwich. Dried beef, shaved paper thin, creamed in a white sauce of butter, flour, and milk. Spooned over white toast. The veterans had another name for it. I won't say it here. The menus called it creamed chipped beef on toast. About 35 cents. The beef was intensely salty. The cream sauce tamed it. The toast soaked everything up till the center went soft, almost like custard, while the edges stayed just crisp enough to lift. By 1960, it was on more counter menus than roast beef. Men ate it in silence and went back to work. When dried beef vanished from grocery shelves in the 80s, the sandwich went with it. Now it lives only in the memory of old soldiers and the children who watch their fathers eat it without complaint. Number 17, the tongue sandwich, pickled beef tongue, sliced thin enough to read a newspaper through, piled on rye with spicy brown mustard. This was the sandwich that separated the old world from the new. Jewish delis in New York, Chicago, and Philadelphia served tongue as proudly as they served pastrami. The meat was silky, almost buttery, a mineral richness no other cut could match, about 40 cents at a deli counter in 1955. The tongue itself was simmered 3 hours, peeled, pressed, and sliced against the grain into near translucent sheets. This was not a sandwich for the timid. When supermarkets quit stocking whole tongue in the 70s, it began its long retreat. Today, fewer than a dozen delis in Manhattan still do it right. Number 16, the Western sandwich, called a Denver in every state except Colorado, where they just called it breakfast. A thin omelet of diced ham, green bell pepper, and onion, folded and pressed between 2 slices of buttered toast. The eggs cooked fast on a hot griddle. The whole thing came together in about 90 seconds. This was the all-day sandwich. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, the Western worked at any hour. About 30 cents, and it carried a man through an afternoon of hard labor. Truck stops coast to coast had it. Today it survives as a diner curiosity, ordered mostly by folks over 60 who remember when it was everywhere. Number 15, the cream cheese and olive rye. Don't confuse this with the fancy olive nut. This was its working-class cousin. Plain cream cheese on dark rye with sliced green olives pressed right into the surface. No nuts. No crust removed. No dainty triangles. Just a solid rectangle wrapped in wax paper and handed across the counter. The rye had enough sourness to stand up to the tang of the cheese. The olives brought salt and brine that turned something plain into something that made your mouth water. This was a factory lunch in Newark, in Bridgeport, in Scranton. Women packed them in paper bags for husbands who worked the plants, a nickel for the sandwich, a nickel for the coffee. Back to work. Number 14, the deviled ham sandwich. That little red can with the devil on the label was a counter staple for 60 years. Ground ham blended with mustard, spices, and enough cayenne for a gentle kick. Spread on white bread with a leaf of iceberg. The can cost about 19 cents and made 2 sandwiches. The flavor was concentrated, salty, deeply savory, in the way only a preserved meat can be. Counters kept cases of it in the back because it needed zero work. Open, spread, serve. It turned up on children's plates, on 5-and-dime counters, in the packed lunches of secretaries and school teachers. When the chains offered hot sandwiches for 35 cents, it couldn't compete on novelty, and it slipped off the menu. Number 13, the hot roast beef sandwich, open-faced. 2 slices of white bread laid flat on an oval plate. Thin slices of leftover roast beef shingled over the top. The whole thing drowned in brown gravy, ladled from a pot that had simmered on the back burner since 6 that morning. Mashed potatoes on the side. This was the blue plate special from Maine to Minnesota. The gravy soaked into the bread till it dissolved into a soft, meaty paste beneath the beef. You ate it with a knife and fork, not your hands. About $1. The closest thing to a home-cooked dinner a working man could get at noon on a Tuesday. The roast was cooked Sunday, sliced Monday, served through Wednesday. Nothing wasted. The whole genius of stretching one roast across a work week. Number 12, the egg salad sandwich. Hard-boiled eggs chopped fine with a fork, never a knife. Mixed with Hellmann's, a pinch of salt, a grind of pepper. sometimes a whisper of celery salt or a little sweet relish, spread thick on white bread. This one smelled like every school cafeteria and church basement in America. Eggs ran about 60 cents a dozen in 1955. A sandwich took 2 eggs and cost the counter almost nothing to make. They sold it for 20 cents and kept the lights on. Pale yellow, creamy, mild. It offended no one. Construction workers ate 2 with a bowl of soup and called it a full meal. Egg salad was the Switzerland of the sandwich board. Neutral. Welcome everywhere. Let me stop the count a moment. Here's what nobody says about that counter. It was the most democratic dining room this country ever built. Not because of who was welcome. That is a different and painful history. But because of what was served. A bank president and a plumber sat on the same stools and ate off the same board for 15 or 20 cents. That board wasn't a limitation. It was the whole point. Now let's keep going. Number 11, the grilled cheese, not the artisan sourdough thing, the original. 2 slices of white bread, buttered on the outside. 2 slices of Kraft American in the middle, pressed flat on a hot griddle till the bread went golden, and the cheese melted into an orange river that sealed the edges shut. The most ordered sandwich at Woolworth's counters nationwide, 20 cents. Children ate it after shopping with their mothers. Adults ate it with tomato soup. The sound of that sandwich hitting the griddle, the hiss of the butter, the smell of toasting bread. That was the soundtrack of noontime in this country. A version survived in the diners, but the original, pressed down with a spatula by a woman till the cheese wept out the sides, that one is gone. Number 10, the chicken salad sandwich, leftover roast chicken pulled off the bone by hand, chopped with celery, bound with mayonnaise and a squeeze of lemon, served on white toast with a leaf of lettuce. This was what women ordered when they wanted something light and civilized on a shopping day. The chicken was never dry because it came off a whole bird roasted with the skin on. The celery gave it a fresh little crunch, about 35 cents with a sprig of parsley nobody ate, but everybody appreciated. Today, chicken salad comes in a plastic tub from a factory somewhere. It tastes like nothing your grandmother would recognize. Number 9, the hot turkey sandwich, open-faced, just like its roast beef cousin, but sliced turkey breast over white bread, smothered in turkey gravy, a scoop of mashed potatoes, and a spoonful of cranberry on the side. This was the day after Thanksgiving sandwich, served November through March. Turkey was cheap in the winter. The gravy came off the carcass. The cranberry came from a can and cost a dime. The whole plate looked like a holiday dinner squeezed onto an oval dish. About 50 cents, and the most satisfying lunch you could buy between Thanksgiving and Easter. When the counters closed, it retreated to a handful of diners in New England and the upper Midwest. A relic now, ordered by people who remember what lunch used to mean. Number 8, the BLT, bacon, lettuce, and tomato on toasted white bread with mayonnaise. 3 strips of bacon fried till the fat went translucent and the edges curled crisp. Iceberg, cold and crunchy from the icebox. A thick slice of summer tomato, red and dripping. This one tasted best in August, when the tomatoes came from a garden and the bacon came from a local butcher. Less than 30 cents on a plate. This one demanded a real tomato when everything else was cooked, canned, or processed. The bacon grease soaked into the toast. The mayo made everything slide. The lettuce cracked when you bit down. It was architecture, Every layer mattered. It still exists. But the version made with 3 ingredients at their peak, by someone who sliced that tomato 30 seconds before it hit the bread, that one is nearly gone. Number 7, the tuna salad sandwich. Canned tuna, drained and flaked with a fork, mixed with mayonnaise, diced celery, and a squeeze of lemon. Spread on white bread or stuffed in a soft roll. This was the Friday sandwich in Catholic neighborhoods across the country, when meat was off the table and fish took its place. A can of Bumblebee cost about 25 cents in 1955 and made 3 sandwiches. The counter version came with chips and a pickle for a quarter. Mild, slightly sweet from the mayo, with enough celery to keep it interesting. Packed into lunch boxes, stacked under glass at every bus station counter between New York and Chicago. The sandwich of obligation, eaten because the calendar demanded it, loved because it was actually good. Number 6, the chopped liver sandwich. In Jewish delis from the Lower East Side to the suburbs of Long Island, chopped liver was as essential as breathing. Chicken liver sautéed with onion, mixed with hard-boiled egg, chopped till it turned into a rough, spreadable paste, served on rye with a smear of mustard. Rich, earthy, deeply savory, iron and fat and caramelized onion in every bite, about 35 cents. And it was the appetizer, the main course, and the statement of identity all in one. It was so central that, "What am I?" chopped liver became a way of saying, "Don't overlook me." Most Americans under 40 have never tasted it. The delis that made it are closing one by one, and the recipe is walking out the door with them. Number 5, the club sandwich. 3 slices of toasted white bread, turkey, bacon, lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise, layered between them. Cut into 4 triangles, held together with frilled toothpicks. The most expensive sandwich on most counters, about 50 to 65 cents. This was the one you ordered when you wanted to treat yourself. The triple-decker made it feel like an event. The toothpicks made it look like architecture. Every layer showed from the side. A little cross-section of American abundance. They say it started at a gentleman's club in the 1800s, but by the 50s it belonged to the lunch counter. The payday sandwich, the celebration sandwich. Today it shows up on hotel room service menus and just about nowhere else with any real conviction. Number 4, the grilled peanut butter and jelly. Not the cold one children pulled from a lunchbox. The counter version. Peanut butter and grape jelly on white bread, then grilled on the flat top in butter, exactly like a grilled cheese. The heat melted the peanut butter into a warm, flowing river. The jelly turned almost syrupy. The bread crisped golden. It turned a child's snack into an actual meal. Every drugstore soda fountain served it, 15 cents. And it was the best thing on the menu that nobody over the age of 12 would admit to ordering. Adults ordered it anyway. They just ate it quick and didn't make eye contact. It has all but ceased to exist. The cold version survived. The one that actually tasted better did not. Number 3, the patty melt. A thin beef patty grilled till the edges blackened, laid on rye with caramelized onions and a slice of Swiss. Then pressed flat on the griddle till the cheese melted and the bread crisped into something halfway between toast and a cracker. This was the sandwich that split the difference between a hamburger and a grilled cheese, and it was better than both. The rye gave it a depth no bun could match. The Swiss had a nuttiness that American cheese lacked. The The slow onions added a sweetness that tied it all together. About 40 cents. And it was the sandwich the regulars ordered, not the tourists, not the first-timers, the ones who had tried everything on the board and settled on the patty melt because nothing else came close. It still shows up in a few diners. But the original, pressed thin by a cook who'd made 10,000 of them, that one is gone. Number 2, the hot hamburger sandwich. Not a hamburger, a hot hamburger sandwich, open-faced, a thick beef patty on a slice of white bread, buried under brown gravy, a hill of mashed potatoes on the side, sometimes a scoop of green peas. You ate it with a fork, dinner disguised as lunch. The gravy was the same gravy that covered the roast beef and the turkey, from a pot that never fully emptied, topped up all day with drippings and stock, deepening as the hours passed. This was what factory workers ordered at 11:30, because they'd been awake since 5 and needed something to hold them till nightfall. About $1, it has no modern equal, because no restaurant today serves gravy from a pot that's been simmering since dawn. Number 1, the toasted cheese and tomato soup. This is the one. Not a single sandwich, a pair, inseparable. A grilled cheese and a bowl of Campbell's tomato soup. The most iconic order in the whole history of the American lunch counter. The sandwich was dunked right into the soup. The cheese stretched in long strings from the bread to the bowl. The soup, bright red and a little sweet, clung to the toasted bread and mixed with the melted butter into something that tasted like childhood, like safety, like a Tuesday afternoon when nothing in the world was expected of you except to sit on that stool and eat. Campbell's cost 10 cents a can. The grilled cheese, 20 cents to make. The whole thing ran the customer about 35 cents. The cheapest, most satisfying, most beloved lunch in the history of that counter. Every soul who ever spun on a stool at a Woolworth's remembers this meal. Not the taste, though the taste was perfect. The feeling of being 8 years old, sitting next to your mother, the counter lady smiling at you, the soup exactly the right temperature, the cheese pulling apart like it was made to be eaten that way. That feeling does not exist at a drive-through window. It does not exist in a paper bag handed through a slot. It lived in a specific place, at a specific counter, on a specific stool. And when those counters closed, that feeling went with them. So, here's my little challenge to you. Make one of these this week. The egg salad, the patty melt, the grilled peanut butter and jelly. Grill that cheese, warm up a can of tomato soup, and sit down at your own table and eat it slow. Then come back and tell me if it was just nostalgia, or if there was something real there that we walked away from. I made the hot roast beef last Sunday, open-faced, gravy from the drippings, and my granddaughter asked me why it tasted better than anything from a restaurant. I didn't have an answer for her. I just made her another one. Go back and watch number 1 again, and number 13, and number 3. Those were my mother's. Drop your favorite down in the comments. I want to know, which one did your family make? Because these were never just sandwiches. They were the last time this country sat down, slowed down, and ate together at a counter that knew your name. If you'd like to keep the rest of them from slipping away, subscribe and sit with me again next time.